Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
And from an undisclosed location still, here I am. No, I am not in the Witness Protection Program, even though some people probably should be. I'm not institutionalized. We're just on the road. How's everybody doing? It's been a couple of weeks. Had a little trip down to Washington, D.C. Got a tour of the Capitol. Thank you, Mike Lawler's office, my congressman. And we got to see a whole bunch of other stuff. If you've been on Instagram or Facebook page and things like that, you saw we did a safety video. Yeah, I like to... No, Jay Allen busts my chops sometimes. He's like, So, for example, right by my house, there is the Hooper, who was a local artist. I forget his first name. He painted House on a Hill. Famous painting. That became the inspiration for Psycho, the Psycho House, reportedly. That painting, right? And then we have Lena Latte, I believe that's her name. She was a famous, most famous role that most people know would be from Diamonds Are Forever, I believe it was, 007 movie. She was the person with the long spikes on her shoes. She was in, she's buried right by us. She passed away over in Haverstraw, New York, that area. She's buried with her husband over there. I got a picture with that. Some other pictures, and I see all these morbid places wherever I go, and I got pictures from them. So Washington was no different. I went to see the Exorcist steps, so you could check that out. All right, where the priest gets thrown out of a window from by a demon from ancient Mesopotamia, and passes away after he falls down the stairs after exorcising the demon from young Regan, right? I think that was her name. But anyway, and from the movie The Exorcist. So I go there, I find different things. It's like, yeah, you like doing this crazy stuff. We also got we went on over to the Smithsonian. And of course, the websites are not accurate. If you're a Star Trek fan, the websites are not accurate. The Enterprise from the original series is right there on display, right where you come in. According to all the websites, they don't really list it because, people like me, they come in, shoot a video, a couple of pictures, and then you leave, sort of thing. But anyway, we had a lot of fun. We went around a whole bunch of stuff. My son, being the sports fanatic he is, he went to the Wharf in Washington, D.C., and he got to see the Connecticut Suns, the WNBA team, and had some pictures taken with some of the WNBA players down there. So he was, thrilled. And I was like, you don't really watch any WNBA? He said, yeah, but I got to, we got some VIP stuff there. So last Friday, there was and you got to watch these dates because I tell you what, the whole Lake Charles area of Louisiana, there's a lot of fires down there, and you got to watch the dates because different things shut down, different fires, and they're from years ago. So this one is from an explosion and fire at a hazmat plant in Tangipahoa Parish, Louisiana, results in 1 mile evacuations from the 22nd, which was Friday. Fire engulfed many tanks after an explosion at Smitty's Supply near Roseland that are known to store highly flammable products. An explosion at a plant in Tanquipahoa Parish, known to store highly flammable products like lighter fluid and motor oil. Motor oil, not so flammable. It's more combustible, but, once it gets going, it gets going. Prompted an evacuation order within a 1 mile radius on Friday that included an elementary school, while Governor Jeff Landry said his office was closely monitoring that situation. An aerial photograph from local authorities showed a portion of the facility engulfed in flames on Friday, with a dark black plume rising above it. This is from Firehouse News, firehouse.com. So evacuations, and as of this morning, there was still some smoldering fires there, according to things there. Now, what I like about this news story from firehouse.com is that it goes into a lot of detail here. So the facility has 20 separate tank farms with 265 steel or plastic above-ground storage tanks units. Those tanks hold between 2,000 and 504,000 gallons of various but generally flammable liquids, according to a 2023 state regulatory report. Many of the tanks are outdoors, although the facility has more than 14 acres of warehouse space, stormwater, and company plans show. So all this stuff is available out there, all this information there. Now, the U.S. Chemical Safety Board, which we have been talking about, has been with this, right? And so here, the view on the right. So they haven't issued a. They have not issued a report for that, but I imagine they're going to be looking into this. So let's go over here with this. Share screen. U.S. Chemical Safety Board opened its investigation into a fatal incident at U.S. Steel Clairton Coke Works plant in Pennsylvania. This happened on the 12th. I think we talked about it on the show the 12th. I know I got to upload things. We're going to be doing that. This U.S. Chemical Safety Hazard Investigation Board is sending a team to investigate the fatal explosions, fires at U.S. Steel's Clairton Coke Works plant near Clairton, Pennsylvania, that occurred on August 11th. 2 people were fatally injured and at least 10 others were injured. CSB Chairperson Steve Owens said the CSB will work to determine the cause of this tragic incident and identify actions that can be taken to help ensure that a similar disaster like this does not happen. So I imagine there's going to be a lot of investigators there at the one down Louisiana that we talked about. Now, this is a very important story here because it illustrates some of the challenges we have in the safety field here. So here we have Dedian Milling fails to implement CSB recommendations. Dedian Milling fails to implement the U.S. Chemical Safety Board's recommendations to improve safety at Wisconsin facility where explosions killed 5 employees and injured 14 others. This is also from the 11th. August 11th. The U.S. Chemical Safety Hazard Investigation Board said today that Dedian Milling Incorporated has so far failed to implement 9 safety recommendations made by the CSB stemming from the agency's investigation into the fatal May 2017 explosions at Dedian Cambrian, Wisconsin facility that left 5 employees dead and 14 others seriously injured. CSB made safety recommendations to Dedian in December 2023 as part of the agency's final report on the fatal investigation. To date, Dedian has not implemented any of the safety recommendations. The CSB has not received an adequate response from Dedian about the status of the safety recommendations, despite multiple outreach efforts to the company by the CSB. The CSB formally transmitted the safety recommendations to Dedian in a letter dated December 11, 2023. Right, it takes a couple of years for these things to work their way through the agency here. So, a little bit frustrating, right? this despite multiple outreaches. So, right, instead of after nearly 7 months on July 9th, 2024, the CSB received a letter from the Dean's attorneys that did not substantially address the CSB's safety recommendations. The Dean's attorneys claimed that the Dean's steps to address the settlement agreement with OSHA also addressed the CSB recommendations. However, while OSHA's agreement addressed 14 willful citations, 5 serious citations resulting in $1.8 million civil penalties, the OSHA citations solely address violations of OSHA regulations. In contrast, right, and this is something you really need to pay attention to here, is in contrast, the CSB recommendations addressed violations of OSHA. CSB recommendations address various other identified gaps in the Dean's inadequate safety management system, as well as the company's failure to properly implement other safety standards and guidance, regardless of whether they violated existing statutes or regulations. Right after the attorney's letter, Director Barbie sent another letter dated September 11th of last year to the company outlining the information and documentation necessary for the CSB to evaluate the progress. So last week, the other stuff went on, right, saying that they've never really addressed anything, haven't answered stuff. Last week, on August 5th, 2025, the CSB's Executive Director of Investigation Recommendation, Stephen Klitsch, sent a letter to the company again requesting a response to the 9 safety recommendations. If the company fails to respond again and takes no action to implement any safety recommendations, the CSB board may decide to close the recommendations with a former designation closed, unacceptable response / no response received. CSB chairperson Steve Owens stated, most companies willingly implement the safety recommendations that they received as a result of the CSB investigations because CSB is a non-regulatory agency that does not issue fines or citations. Safety recommendations are the primary tool that the agency has to help prevent future horrific accidents that kill and seriously injure people, like the massive explosions that occurred. We urge the DN to respond constructively and take action. Right? So, again, this is a description here. The CSB is an independent federal agency charged with investigating incidents and hazards that may result in the catastrophic release of extremely hazardous substances. So let's go back here and with this. So, reason why I want to look at this, because I believe there is something that is critically important here, right, with this. Right, and what most people don't realize the Chemical Safety Board, and this is there's been some talk of getting rid of it and everything else, when it really is important here. So, right here in the center of the screen, if you're following along here, the CSB was created by the Clean Air Act amendments of 1990, and the CSB was first funded and commenced operations in 1998. Okay, great. The CSB is not an enforcement or regulatory body. No part of the conclusions, findings, or recommendations in the board relating to any accidental release or investigation thereof shall be admitted as evidence or used in any action or suit for damages arising out of any matter mentioned in such report, and that's by federal law, Federal Code 42 U.S.C., Chapter 74.12 R6G. So there's really no harm per se on cooperating with them. All right, so you basically have, and I'm not an attorney here, I'm not doing legal advice here, but basically this can't be used against you. However, we do know that if you're involved in litigation or something like that, you might, if you're involved in litigation, there's nothing stopping your opponent from reading these things and coming up with some ideas and theories. They just can't use the report. And I suspect that since we had fatalities and other things going on, they don't want to address anything because now there is an admission that you did something wrong. And I'm not saying that that's an affirmative legal defense, but I've been dealing with the thinking why people don't cooperate with safety professionals, and that's often the case. It's like, no, I'm not admitting that I did anything wrong, bleep you, sort of thing. I get that all the time with this stuff. So let's find out, right? So this happened on May 31st, 2017, fatally injuring 5 people: Duel Block, Robert Gudino, Carlos Charlie Nunez Contreras, Angel Reyes, and Pavel Tordov. So what was the description? We're not going to go through all 196 pages, but let's see here, right? We're scrolling through, right? You have a lot of front matter here, table of contents. So on Wednesday, May 31st, 2017, at 11 p.m., multiple combustible dust explosions occurred at the Didion Milling Incorporated dry corn milling facility in Cambria, Wisconsin, fatally injuring 5 employees and injuring another 14 employees. Didion employed 124 people at the Cambrian site, of which 19 employees were on site at the time of the incident. During the day of the incident, Didion connected the discharge from 2 rotary gap mills in an attempt to increase production. On the night of the incident, during normal mill facility operations, employees smelled smoke in the parts of the mill. Employees investigated the source of the smoke and determined that the smoke was likely located on the first floor of one of the buildings. While investigating process equipment for the source of the smoke, several employees heard an explosion and subsequently saw fire emanate from piping on the rotary gap mill equipment discharge. Right? The employees began to evacuate and attempt to notify other employees of the emergency using their radios. However, conflicting radio traffic caused confusion with the intended message. A fire, a type of deflagration, meaning it moved slower than the speed of sound, spread through the process equipment via interconnected dust collection systems, resulting in explosions in some of the dust collection equipment. The deflagrations relieved from the process equipment. Secondary explosions, meaning faster than the speed of sound, you get a boom, it's usually contained, occurred throughout the facility. The employees were not within the immediate vicinity of the reserve fire, were unaware of the emergency and the need to evacuate prior to the explosions. So, approximate damage, including the employees hurt and killed, was $15,375,000, right? $15 million plus. So what were those, right? Failure to recognize interconnecting equipment through dust collectors could present a deflagration propagation hazard. The incorrect conclusion using incorrect calculations of dust collectors in the mill facility did not contain explosive dust concentrations. Failure to recognize that proper design and verification of ductwork system sizing and performance are crucial for safe dust collector operations, and with that. And talking about improper dust hazard analysis. So NFPA got involved here also with this. Again, a non-governmental organization, no enforcement power. No engineering controls. Structural design problems. Right? Management of change. Right? With that. So this is a food safety plant. Now, let's talk about, I'm sorry, I did not share the screen there, but go there, right? There's everything with that. Now, something that we want to point out here, dust explosions. How do they often happen? So here I have an aluminum can. All right. It's nice. You can open it up. It has nice non-alcoholic beer in there. Really refreshing at the end of the day. I can sit here and hold a flame to this, and nothing would happen, right? Let's say we were going to take this can and we were going to mill it down into a fine particle. We take it, and we put it in a block, right? In a container. We hold it to it. Will it catch on fire? It might catch on fire. Let's say I were going to take this material. I was going to go, right? So right now I'm sending my hand, I'm dispersing it in the air. And if I were to take the same exact flame or spark and add energy to that, add heat to it, something like that, you would have a massive explosion. And if I were just going to take that powdered aluminum and mix it in with and I'm not going to mention the dimensions because someone will get the idea, the diameter. And I were to add it to an oxidant, let's say ammonium perchlorate, right? Which oxide, which is like 58% oxygen. Let's say that I was going to add that together, put it into a mold. I would have a solid rocket fuel, along with some other materials, and there I'm not going to tell you, but you would have solid rocket fuel. Right, with that. So that, right, with that. So, what's there to learn? You have dust. You grind it into a fine particle. Let's say you have an organic dust, like we have a food dust. That's always an organic dust, like wheat flour, cornmeal, something like sugar, right? Famous fire in New York, Domino Sugar Fire. And you're going to pulverize it into a fine powder and spread it out. Now you're going to have a problem. This is often what happens. I'm not sure if this happened here, but this is often what happens with combustible dusts. So there was a machine shop in my hometown back in the early 80s, late 70s. It caught on fire, right? And no, that happened back then. Then I went and took a couple of combustible dust classes, and over at Rutgers and a couple of other places. And I was thinking, I was like, wow, I wonder if that happened, because I remember in the machine shop, they had a dust fire, and they never really figured out what this was. And I recall you had metal filings and powder all through the rafters there. I had a family member that worked there, and also had, like, they had worked on aluminum there. So now they have aluminum, they have fine powders up there, and they also had, like, many ignition sources. I forget whether or not they had a wood-burning stove or anything there. But often these places have a furnace or something like that runs off. No, you have a flame. So often this is a scenario. You have stuff in the up in the rafters. Poor housekeeping. Wind comes through the facility, rains down all this stuff, all this fine metal powder. It hits an ignition source, and now you have a massive deflagration here. And that's the danger of dust. In one of the classes I took, they actually brought in flour from like cooking flour, right? And then what they did was the professor took it. They had a candle lit, and he went and blew it in there. Whoosh! All of a sudden, you had a massive fire, and that's the dangers of combustible dust fires on there. And this is why it's very important with housekeeping. Now you're going on to housekeeping. I mentioned it. Housekeeping. So anytime you're dealing with a flammable dust, whether you're in a carpenter shop, a wood shop, metal fabrication, dealing with, and especially dealing with aluminum, right? Because what are boats often made out of? Aluminum. Aluminum is very dangerous with that. And that's what you have to do. Now, with here, we have grain. This is a problem. Sugar is another one. What was the other story I was going to share with you folks? Oh, yeah. So there was another fire I'm familiar with. One of my friends, her father was a hobby, a wood shop hobby he had, and retired. And he ended up with never cleaned it up. Was beneath him. He ended up having a fire because of the wood dust, the sawdust around. That's why a lot of facilities not allowed to smoke in, right? Things because of wood, chips, and that. Well, the other thing to remember, you know the TV dinners that you have out there? They used to call them TV dinners, and it says on the microwavable now. And it says on the package, remove from package before putting in oven, right? You see that. Well, this guy who set fire to his own wood shop because of housekeeping issues was also one of the people that put that in to the oven back in the 70s and burned down his own kitchen. So, same guy. So, I know the guy, or at least one of the guys. So, that's what I got. Well, let's go to commercial break on there, and we'll get right back to you.
Safety Wars is streaming now.
SafetyFM.com.
In an unpredictable world, one voice rises above the chaos. Meet Jim Polzo, a seasoned safety expert who's navigated through some of the most dangerous scenarios, from anthrax, explosive cleanups, disasters, and numerous environmental cleanups, and lived to tell the tale. Now he's bringing his wealth of knowledge, insights, and experiences to you through Safety Wars. From workplace hazards to the hidden dangers in your own home, Jim covers it all with his engaging storytelling. Safety Wars isn't just a podcast, it's your guide to a safer world. Join Jim Polzo and become part of the Safety Wars revolution. Available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts and videos. Safety Wars. Your safety is our mission.
Have you listened or watched the Safety War show? It does stream live on the radio and on the streamer-emers that we have. So if you have not taken a listen to Jim Polzo and what the hell he's doing every evening with Safety Wars, I would strongly encourage you to take a view or take a listen, whichever option is available for you, and take a listen to what the hell he has going on. It will take some deep dives in some information that you might be interested in.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hackneyed? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that is designed to actually address and assess your hazards and liabilities and is not standardized baloney from generations ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call me, Jim Polzo, at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you are receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
The safety war has begun. The risks are out there, lurking in every corner of the workplace, threatening our most valuable asset, our people. But we have a plan. Led by Jim Polzo, we are the last line of defense in this battle against danger and negligence. We will fight for safety, for compliance, for the right of every worker to return home unscathed. Join us on this journey through the unknown, where vigilance is our weapon and knowledge is our shield. This is Safety Wars, our fight, our duty, our mission. Heard regularly on your favorite podcast platform as Safety Wars, visit us at safetywars.com.
Yeah, we have some more promos coming out from Jessica. Where I'm working on one right now. So, with a video. So, you guys will get a big kick out of this. So, we are back here, and I guess I got to put some music on in here for a background effect. Let's see.
Masks on faces, no room for complacency. Air ain't free, cop rules explicitly. 29 CF filed the code to live. Breath-free protection, OSHA directive.
Yes, we are back. Yes, we have more AI music to come. What's funny is I had a couple of AI songs set up, and on the project that I'm working on now, it's one of the projects is a hazardous waste site. So what do you think? What do you think the song was? I said, you know what? I have someone came in and they wanted to know what the hat, you know. It was here. Let's see if I have it. Hold on. I mentioned this stuff. Anyway, I don't have it on this setup here. But anyway, it was something's going on the hazardous waste site. So it was, you know, pretty. I said, look, I got a song for that. I said, you got a song for everything, Jim, right? So we had, I guess I am, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this, but I'm going to talk about this anyway here. So a major cancer charity today, changed their name. I mean, this is like the era of changing logos, changing names, and everything else. So so for example, you had the whole thing with Cracker Barrel where they changed the logo. It went from Cracker Barrel with the guys standing there and everything to just Cracker Barrel. Then all of a sudden, there's a huge backlash. The same thing with Pearl River Milling, right, with Aunt Jemima, right? Another controversy. Now this one, and it was, I'm going to do a share screen here. This is another one for major charity here. Leukemia Lymphoma Society is now Blood Cancer United. Now, right, and this was announced today, and as everyone knows, well, not everyone, but I have a personal interest in this one. And what their reasoning was that we're all about blood cancer, so people with blood cancer can be about everything else, right? Good thing. And what happened was this started out as a leukemia society back in the 70s. And if you remember, there was a commercial from Happy Days, or the staff of, or the cast of Happy Days, that old TV show, right, which plays a very significant role in the popularization of the Heimlich maneuver. Now we're not allowed to call it that, but anyway, you could go and look that one up. Anson Williams tells the story on, he's shared it on Coast to Coast AM about 15 years ago. And subsequently also how he made sure that inadvertently became a household name and went viral back in 73, 74, something like that. But anyway, they did it was Leukemia Society back in the 70s, then it was lymphoma, and now there's a lot of other cancers out there that there's a lot of other cancers out there that Leukemia Lymphoma Society does a lot of research on. Not only leukemia and lymphoma, there are many, many, many others. And I'm going to do a little plug for them here. The LLS, leukemia, is one of the easier cancers to screen for. Any of the blood cancers. So what happens is, with a regular cancer, most of them, not a doctor, I don't play one on radio or TV, they have to do a biopsy. And depending on the cancer, that's like a big freaking deal. Right? For leukemia and lymphoma and these blood cancers, they're able to do a blood test. So if you donate to them, and there goes to studies and everything else, and it's an A-listed charity, I think it's like one of the top charities in the country, they're able to go and do that testing. So they're doing research now. We can do testing, and we have immediate results as if it's effective or not. We don't have to do surgery. We don't have to do this. We don't have to do that. And so if something's not working, then they go and try something else, Right now, they know to stop the research. They're not throwing money out the window. They try something else. And they're able to advance a lot of things with the research and everything on there. But there are many, many other resources that Leukemia and Lymphoma Society has. So you could go to the new website, bloodcancerunited.org. Check it out. I think this would be, unlike Cracker Barrel and some of the other logos and things that are changing names, right? Like KFC is not going to, they're thinking about going back Kentucky Fried Chicken, I heard, right? No, this sounds like a good thing, more inclusive with that, and you're getting really good stuff here. So I tell you what, I'm going to play their commercial here with this.
Being diagnosed with leukemia, lymphoma, myeloma, or any other type of blood cancer makes people want more time to do the things they love. That means more time to be movie buffs, athletes, jazz collectors, abuelitas, accordion players, teammates, artists, and best friends. We are Blood Cancer United, the world's leading organization focused solely on blood cancer research, support, and advocacy. We do the most for more people with blood cancer, so people with blood cancer can do more of whatever they want. Blood Cancer United, doing the most for more people with blood cancer. Join us and donate today.
So, this is like a passion story of mine here with that. And, personal affiliation with one of them. I have several. But one of them was I had a teammate in high school pass away from leukemia, Miguel de la Torre. And I believe it was senior year. It was like, real messed up there with that. And back then, people, when there were deaths and everything like that in a community, one, there wasn't social media to get the information, but oftentimes they would not share that information even with the classmates, right? It wasn't with that, other than, yeah, he passed away and that was it with that. But his entire time in high school was dedicated to fighting this illness, and he was on the track team with me and everything else. God knows what would have became of him. Very driven individual, very great individual. A big loss to us as a community, our high school, but also as a society. A lot of people losing a lot of these people with that, reducing our capacity with that, right? And what safety is capacity and resilience. We're going to mosey on over to the Department of Labor press releases here. And like, I commented, I always comment, right, with this here. Not like it used to be under the Biden administration here with the press releases. U.S. Department of Labor promotes AI literacy across the American workforce. The U.S. Department of Labor's Employment and Training Administration today issued guidance to states on how to use Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act grants to bolster artificial intelligence literacy and training across the public workforce system. I tell you what, I got to have a program on this, on just AI. We were warned about this many years ago, and now that it's coming to fruition, there's a lot of information out there, a prodigious amount of information on what the dangers of this technology is out there. So the guidance, which encourages states and local workforce development boards to use Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act funding to support AI literacy among participants, and I'm not even going to go with that, right? Advanced artificial education for youth. This is an executive order from April 23rd. We won't go through that, right? President Trump set out with a goal to make America skilled again by providing more flexibility to state and local governments, empowering them to utilize Federal resources. I hate the word utilize, but utilize means to use things in a way different than what they were intended. Right? That's one of the definitions of utilize. So I don't think that they mean that here. They should use the word use. Federal resources more efficiently to prepare workers for the in-demand mortgage-paying jobs of the future. Of course, mortgage-paying, because we, of course, measure our economy based on housing and things of that nature. By sending out this new guidance, the Department of Labor is fulfilling the President's goal and acting on our commitment to put American workers first, said Secretary of Labor Lori Chavez, the Reamer. AI literacy. Now, the problem here is this with AI literacy. Here, and I'm reading off the press release. With AI, it's often wrong. And with one of the systems out there, it's actually anti-human with this. So, for example, they set this up in its own environment. They fed it information, and somebody was going to shut it off, and it said, "Oh, you're not going to don't shut me off. Blah 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 blah. I'm going to tell your wife that you're having an affair." It's like, oh. Now you see the problem, right? The other one was with this, right? Giving wrong information, giving information on self-harm with that, right? To people, giving out information on self-harm as if there's not enough information out there. Unethical use of it, using it for homework rather than learning with students. And all different improper, unethical use here of AI. I mean, you look at some of the programs out there so for example, I was having a conversation over the weekend with someone who, they're like, look, with all this face swap and everything, her daughter was just graduated from a high school where that was a big, huge problem 3 years ago. And people are actually registered sex offenders now. And they're 19 years old, 18 years old, because they were sharing stuff of their classmates, swapping heads and sending it out. FBI got involved and everything else. So this artificial intelligence, extremely, extremely, extremely dangerous out there. And you got to watch what your kids are doing. That is the bottom line with that. Do I use AI? Yeah, of course I use AI, right? However, you got to use it ethically with that. And there was a Coast to Coast AM had a recent program, I think it was over the weekend, how if they're, it was Lionel in New York City on 77 ABC. He's the late night host. Because everybody on that network, half of the people seem to be running for office there. Long story short, all of these, bottom line is a lot of this stuff is replacing musicians. We can't afford a musician? Guess what? We could, for your program, well, guess what? We can have a musician. And it's changing the whole entertainment field here with this. So on to the EPA website here, right? And going back to a story we had before. Come on. All right. EPA takes action to deny California illegal power grab on heavy-duty vehicles, right? Then I clicked on the wrong story, but let's go with it. California was not and has never been duly elected by American people to run our great country. Said EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, the state's power grab knows no bounds. EPA will not allow California to violate federal law. And we will not sit idly by while, in the name of climate change, they raise the cost of living on all Americans who rely on truck drivers and products they deliver across the country. The U.S. EPA is proposing to disapprove of California's heavy-duty inspection and maintenance requirements as it applies to out-of-state and out-of-country vehicles. The HDIM requirement in the state implementation plan, that's a SIP, right? That's part of the Clean Air Act program, submitted by California, establishes an IM program for any, that's an inspection maintenance program, for any heavy-duty vehicle driven in the state, regardless of registration. EPA is proposed to deny these actions due to concerns that this requirement violates the U.S. Constitution's Commerce Clause and is inconsistent, and this inconsistency with federal law also violates Section 110 of the Clean Air Act. So, real simple. And California has done this with several issues over the years that have been very controversial and generally opposed to by Republicans. With that, you could go and look that up, where if you're going to do business in California, you have to do certain things, whether throughout company-wide, regardless of whether you have one employee in California, no employees in California, or anything with that. And so I think this is a strike against that, where you make it a requirement in California. Therefore, you always, it's a requirement against nationwide. One of them was with health insurance back a number of years ago. So here's my question for you: Trump administration, Texas, right? They're all in a pissing match together, all these people. Pardon my French, but that's basically what it is with the redistricting. So my question is this. Is this whole thing going to lead to other things being rescinded? Meaning that, so in California you had to cover certain health issues in your insurance program if you want to do business in California. Well, with the government in California, well, guess what? It's not going to be rolled back. This is just a domino type thing. Just a question I'm asking. And guess what? I'm probably the only person in this whole news talk radio thing to be asking that question. Is California, right? Is California all these other requirements, right? And they're not the only one. Are these all going to be struck down? So that's what I got. Let's go to commercial break, and we'll get back to the story that I forgot. I clicked on the wrong one. We'll get back to the other one. So hold on here.
From the front lines of the safety war, it's Safety Wars with your host, Jim Posel on Safety FM. Get ready to face the harsh reality.
Federal workplace safety inspectors found a Wisconsin animal food producer exposed employees to the risks of explosions, fires, and long-term respiratory illnesses from excessive amounts of airborne dust, among 24 safety and health violations they identified. The findings follow an inspection by OSHA at a Watertown facility in February 2024 after the agency received complaints of unsafe working conditions. OSHA inspectors found the company's poor housekeeping, its failure to evaluate spaces for dust hazards, and an absence of engineering controls to reduce dust created serious combustible and airborne dust hazards. The agency also determined Strauss Feeds did not develop a written respiratory protection program that includes medical evaluations, fit testing, monitoring, and training workers to recognize dust hazards. Unsafe levels of airborne dust can ignite suddenly, causing explosions and fires that jeopardize the safety of workers. Left unchecked, these same dust hazards can cause workers long-term health issues, explained OSHA Area Director Chad Greenwood in Madison, Wisconsin. Companies that manufacture products that create excessive dust particles must use engineering systems and highly effective respiratory protection programs to protect employees from harm. OSHA also noted workers were exposed to hazards from walking and working surfaces, falls, confined space, and the operation of industrial trucks and forklifts when combustible dust hazards were present, increasing the risks of fire and explosion. Inspectors cited Strauss Feeds for 19 serious and 5 other than serious safety and health violations. OSHA has assessed the company $161,332 in proposed penalties. Founded in 1875 as a small, water-powered mill on a farm in North Manchester, Indiana, the company today makes milk replacer for calves and other young animals. For this and similar stories, along with commentary and a deep dive, listen to Safety Wars on your favorite podcast platform and video platform as Safety Wars or Jim Posel.
So let's see if this will play here. I don't know. Hold on. It didn't come out. Let's see if we got another one. So we might have to re-record this. I know. Really? Right? Safety, the final frontier on that. So, Jessica, we're trying to get her in here. There we go.
Safety, the final frontier.
And if you look, we are on we are in the Smithsonian on this one. So, and here's Jessica more clearly from a couple years ago. OSHA recordables, catastrophic losses, environmental disasters. You want answers? So do I. This is Jim Posel with Safety Wars.
That's my daddy!
Right? She's very soft-spoken. We got to get her, big talking like me. But I did go in front of the Enterprise in the Smithsonian and say, safety, the final frontier. So, with that. And here, in case you're wondering, that was the inspiration for...
The safety war has begun. The risks are out there, lurking in every corner of the workplace, threatening our most valuable asset, our people. But we have a plan. Led by Jim Posel, we are the last line of defense in this battle against danger and negligence. We will fight for safety, for compliance, for the right of every worker to return home unscathed. Join us on this journey through the unknown, where vigilance is our weapon and knowledge is our shield. This is Safety Wars, our fight, our duty, our mission. Heard regularly on your favorite podcast platform as Safety Wars, visit us at safetywars.com.
Anyway, thanks for the indulgence there. So on to our final story here with this. Right? So this is from the earlier story, right? With responders continue to fight the fire at Smitty's Supply Incorporated site, U.S. and EPA will serve as lead agency on scene. This is from Sunday, right? Previously, a responsible party was coordinating these efforts to support these current operations. EPA is mobilizing the Emergency Rapid Response Services contractors, ERRS, to coordinate response efforts. The EPA plans to, with that, 18 goes into stuff not really germane, but we do have a web page. Let's check that out. Right, so here we have some firefighting over here. Wow, a lot of damage going on there. Buildings burned down. Here you have firefighting foam. With that, click here, and right, they actually have reactions today. Air monitoring. We're going to cover this again tomorrow here with this. So they're using a multi-ray AM520 with a VOC multi-ray PPM below detectable limits. Not surprising. They're getting some PM 2.5 here, right? Particulate matter 2.5 microns in diameter and 32 micrograms per meter cubed on there. Now, something I want to point out, I'm not saying on this, I'm not involved in this job, but usually the action level for EPA to be of concern is 125 micrograms per meter cubed right now, usually on this stuff. But here we are, 32, 71, and 45, and that PM 2.5 is for all dust, not for necessarily a particular hazardous dust. And the multi-ray is for volatile organic compounds, VOCs. That means that's a photoionization detector on that for those folks out there. And here are all of the monitoring points that they have here. So they have and they had this out on the East Palestine, Ohio stuff here, and they list the detection range here, benzene detection range, 0.5 to 20 parts per million. I don't know what the HAP level is supposed to have, so the air pollutant level is on that. I know the permissible exposure limit is 1 part per million with that. So they're not listing any results on that. But I'd really be surprised if we get something on that for the community. So that's basically what is going on. here. So airborne spectral photographic environmental collection data here, low-level detection of butene, 2-butene, peroxyacetyl nitrate, PAN, and the maximum detections are found downwind close to the facility at 1.3 ppm of 2-butene. And then going on, August 24th, that was Sunday, 2-butene ozone and PAN were detected. No new chemicals have been identified. And on August 25th, yesterday, only PAN was detected at a maximum of 1 part per million on here. With that, and we could click on the nice map here and find out the exact concentrations here, 0.1, 0.38. Here's some other photos here with this. Massive conflagration here with this, huh? We got some spill activity in from the fire is water. Wow, that should be like a Pulitzer Prize-winning photo here. You know what I'm going to do? I am going to screenshot this here because I tell you what, that's probably going to go on into the video here with that. That's my private pond here. Just because it's private doesn't mean that you can do whatever the hell you want in it. It still has to be cleaned up. With that. So that's what I got for tonight. And now we're going to do our regular outro here. With that, EPA is there. I think they learned a lot from the East Palestine thing, right? A couple years back that we had commented on Coast to Coast AM with the input that managing this better, getting a hold of that social media a little bit better on these emergency responses. So for Safety Wars and Safety FM, this is Jim Posel. I will be back tomorrow, and we'll be doing some videos and stuff.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.